have you ever sat through a really boring speech, like a graduation, or maybe if you've ever attended a conference in your industry, and you're sitting in your seat and you're looking at this speaker and they never look up once from the piece of paper that's on the podium? Or, even worse, they're always looking at the slideshow, whether it be in front of them, or even worse than the slideshow in front of them is the slideshow to the side. Or they are just incredibly monotone. And maybe you even came into that speech, into that class or whatever, thinking this could be really good. And now the entire whatever is ruined because the speaker is just so boring and not engaging at all. Okay, that's the problem. Now I'm going to try to teach you how to be an engaging speaker and how to be interesting when you're speaking, so that when you're speaking, you actually know that you have people's attention and that they're truly interested. So the first thing is that often people get that way just because they're nervous. That's it. Seriously, that is like the entire thing. I could end the video right here and say nothing else. And I think that would still be probably the most helpful thing that I could say. Is if you're nervous, sometimes the entire thing can get ruined if you don't know how to handle it. How do you handle being nervous for a speech? The first thing is to write out a script. Even if you aren't allowed to have a script, even if you don't want to use a script, write out an entire script. Every word for word, what you're going to say. If you want to know more about writing a script, I do have a video. I will link that down below. But the reason why you should write it fully out, at least in this case, especially if you're not used to writing scripts, is because it will help you with every detail. What examples you want to use, what exactly you're going to say, and when. And it just in general, even if you don't use it, makes you think about all of these things, and you'll probably remember it better. Now that you have a script written out, practice. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it makes even better, as best as possible. Now that you have a script, the important part is to practice. Practice doesn't necessarily make perfect all the time, but it makes it as best as it possibly can. To help practice, I recommend, if you're going to be in front of a camera, then speak in front of the camera. If you're going to be in front of people, then just kind of imagine that there's a crowd. Number two is that for either of these situations, make sure that you have whatever you need to keep yourself on track. A script would be helpful because you can just look at that and be like, oh, I wanted to be here right now. Perhaps even a glass of water. Something that you can do just before you go on stage and make your speech, something that's also kind of physical that'll help, is when we're nervous, our heartbeat is much faster. That can make us want to go much faster. That can make us appear much more agitated. Something to help combat that is if you put your hands out like this and press against the wall and just give it everything you've got and breathe. Seriously, just breathe. Hands like this, just breathe. Breathing, first off, is going to help you, but also using your body and pushing against that and then let go. Give it a few seconds and push again. Gives your body something else to focus on, but also helps to kind of relieve that tension that's in your body. With your nerves being hopefully much better now, something to keep in mind as you're preparing is that you need to be true to yourself. Now, that sounds super cheesy, and I get it. But being yourself is the best thing that you can possibly be when making a speech. People don't always come for the topic. Sometimes they'll just hear that this person is an amazing speaker, and they just want to hear it. It doesn't matter. Be one of those amazing speakers and just be true to yourself. And that doesn't mean that you should never mess up, of course. Speech is never about not messing up. But it's about handling it well and handling it the way that you might just kind of handle a mess up. Say you just stumbled on your words in real life, talking in a conversation, and you might go, blah, 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 blah. That's you, right? And it was just like, ugh, words, right? That's me. I do that. Just kind of taking it easy like that, being yourself, is the best thing that you can do. Being yourself in your speech, using words that you actually use. Being yourself also means the way that you dress. Now, I have a video on this, but one thing that I really wanted to stress in that video was that it really matters entirely how you want to represent yourself and your company. So I represent my company. I own Social Update with a shirt and a tie because that is what I want to present to you, my viewers. It's the same thing for yourself. One thing that also must be considered is, of course, your own comfort level. I'm comfortable wearing this. You might not be, and you want to wear something else, whether it be a full suit, if you're a guy, or, I don't know, sweatpants. But also, how would you represent yourself every day would kind of play into that. I don't wear this every day, but I don't dress sloppy either. Probably the biggest way that we represent ourselves is through our body language. If you're nervous, and of course you might have some nervous tics, and just be aware of them. I'm sure that this won't be your first speech, or whenever you do make a speech, it won't be your first. And being aware of those nerves and those nervous tics can be the best thing actually, because you might figure out ways how to deal with them. You might figure out ways on how to deal with those tics. But another thing is to just relax. Seriously. If you're talking to your best friend, are you nervous? No, you're not going to be nervous because you're talking to your best friend. You can tell them anything. And that's exactly how you should feel when making a speech. Because people aren't out to get you. In a camera, frankly, if you're speaking to a camera, it's your absolute best friend. You can make as many mistakes as you want, and you can choose however you want to come back off that. If you can edit, you have even more ways. Thank you so much for watching. Down in the comments, I want to know either the best or the most boring or worst speech that you've ever had to attend, and why was it that way? Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, guys.